Hey, and welcome back. If it's your first time, welcome to the channel. This week I plan on sculpting one of my favorite races from Magic the Gathering, specifically the Mother of Machines, Elesh Norn. As you can see here, I jotted down a couple of measurements based off of card art, and then I scaled it up for the size that I wanted the sculpture to be. But yeah, I guess without further ado, let's get into this. So my original plan for this was to do a little bit of sculpting ahead of time, but as you can see, I pretty much sculpted out the entire body for Elesh Norn. I did leave an arm, so we can enjoy sculpting that together. So you'll notice that some of the shots are kind of lined up a little wonky. My camera stand that broke last video and that I thought that I fixed re-broke this video. So we had a lot of fun together trying to line up shots. So if anything is out of focus, I do apologize ahead of time. I'm going to try and cut those out. But there are some instances where the angle is not the best, in which case I apologize ahead of time. Alright, we're just putting the finishing touches on the arm. So from here we're going to work on the breastplate for Elesh Norn. You'll see that I put a bunch of clay on. I am going to proceed to cut most of that off in order to sculpt out the actual structure for the breastplate. And then I'm going to cut off most of the clay that's around the torso in order to accommodate the rib cage that's part of the armor. In this part, we're just going to work on the back plate for the armor. And this is what the chest and back piece are looking like so far. From here, we're going to move on to her shoulder guards. This did take a couple of attempts. I gave you the final run through as opposed to the first 2 or 3 attempts where I absolutely hated them, so I just ditched it. Alright, moving on to the hands. This was an easier hand to do, and I felt like it would be an easier hand to record. Turns out I couldn't get her off the base, so it wound up being a little bit more difficult of a sculpt than I initially thought for the hand. But as you can see right now, I'm doing the back of the hand, part of the gauntlet, and the knuckles. You'll also notice for the hands I did use Milliput as opposed to regular Sculpey. I don't know why, but for smaller things like this, I feel like using Milliput's easier. I have no rational explanation as to why, but yeah, it worked out in the end, so I did something right. So here I'm starting to work on her crown. I made a little template of the crown, and then I doubled it up and made the actual crown. Just fitting it to the head to make sure it works, and messing with the camera, and fitting it to the head again. Alright, so for this part, I'm using Apoxy Sculpt, as if I wasn't using enough different sculpting material beforehand. But this is my first time using Apoxy Sculpt, if you don't consider Milliput, even though it technically is. But yeah, I actually liked and disliked this immensely. I did one side of the crown, and it was an absolute nightmare. And I used what I learned from doing the first half of the crown to fix the second half of the crown, and it worked way better. Maybe next time I will keep maybe some water with me, but the cracks and whatnot that actually got left behind from being kind of rough with it did wind up working in my favor. As you can see here, I have primed her after I got her all set and ready. Now we're going to move on to the paint. I'm starting off with a brown wash just to try and get a little bit of a base on there, and then I'm wiping it off as we go, hoping that the brown wash will just sink into the little pores that I made throughout the armor. And now that the brown wash has seeped into the pores and dried completely, I'm going to do progressively lighter shades of white and off-white in order to give it more of a bone texture. So from this point forward, I'm going to go through and lay down a red base coat for the skin. Unfortunately, I don't get the full skin process recorded. I do wind up using some pigments in order to add a little bit more definition between like the shadows and the different parts of the skin. So I use it for some darkening and just to try and make sections pop. I wind up going through with a dark red and a black on the skin in order to differentiate the different parts and highlight different parts of the skin. And then on the bone armor, I go through with a combination of yellow, orange, and browns in order to make the bone armor look a little bit more like bone. But yeah, enjoy the painting. And this is what she looks like before the pigment powder. I still have to go through at this point and do the base and the pigment powder, but yeah, this is pretty much 90% complete. Stay tuned for the final results. I thank you for watching the video. I hope that you made it to this point. Make sure to like and subscribe and all that jazz. I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let you enjoy the sculpture. Bye.